welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. With 4 race starts, we're going to start with our Category 4 riders, then 3, 2 and 1. Our riders are lined up in yellow, that is our Category 1 riders. In green, our Category 2. In blue, Category 3. And Category 4 in red. Known for its blisteringly quick start. Everybody, I think, is self-perpetuating at the moment. Everybody is kicking out because they know somebody will go for it. And that means week after week, somebody does. They have been spotted, and it means that Mr. X100 has gone across to Stefan van Els and Carsten Meyer. The UAE clan team again making the move, patrolling the group out. We are seeing the race blown apart in Category 1. We've got a solo leader in Category 2. We've got a big bunch in Category 3, and we have a small fracturing group chasing down Mark Danson. He's got so much speed, they're struggling to stay with him. Well, he has been a man who's done a vink to vink. It looks like he's going to be able to push on here. The gaps have opened up behind. They have seen the train leaving the station. They don't want to get left on the platform. But I tell you something, it's like trying to jump onto a high-speed train as it whistles through without stopping. Category 4 riders are about to see the Knudsen Express on its way through. And you know what? There's going to be nothing they can do about it because the pace is phenomenal. They have to focus on their race. He will be our first rider home. He'll be the winner in category number 1. Qualifier race number 2. Michael Knudsen, race victor. Hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. It's qualifier race number 3. It's our men's race. And boy, do our riders have something to live up to after the last week's race. That was a cracker. My name's Matt Payne. You can follow me at MattFixPayne. I'm going to be bringing you all of the race action. Back from her trip to Glasgow, up to the north of the UK, is Emma Martin. Emma, we can find you at Biking Emma, but even more importantly, we can find you in the studio.
You can do indeed. I am back in the studio today. It is great to be back on the Sunday Race Club after watching phenomenal artistic cycling and cycle ball from the Emirates Arena in Glasgow.
Not just watching, but commentating on
the
UCI
I wasn't
World
just watching,
Championships.
but I was watching. I have come back. If I wasn't a fangirl before I saw it in real life, having watched it on TV, I am a fangirl now. I am also a fangirl of this route with the Elephant Rock. We are in Alula. We are on the heritage climb for the men today, 45 kilometres, 506 metres of climbing. That's not a lot for the men. And you can see along the way, we have 6 300-metre sprint segments. Now, this will give us an indication of the racing. And then at 39 kilometres, we have that Category 3 climb to the checkered flag at the top. Well, it is 5.5 kilometres in length, an average gradient of 5.3%, but it is a stepped climb, and there are some exceptionally steep sections on that climb today.
Yep, those steep gradients really putting a lie to that 5.3% because there is even downhill in here and flat and pretty much everything, including the kitchen sink thrown at the riders in that last 5.5 kilometres. But it's not flat on the run in as well. We'll see our 4 groups taking that on. Category 1 will be our last set of riders to go. Then in front of them will be Category 2. Then it will be Category 3. And first riders away will be Category 4 in the red. Now, 4 groups, 4 distinct race starts could well come together by the end of this route, depending on how riders ride this. Now, in our Category 4 competition, no teams in here, all individual riders in our qualifiers. And who's who?
Well, 36 riders on the start sheets today. Some phenomenal riders in here. Agudelo, Finati, Dadson, Kaluma, Allport, Zanaska, McMurtry, Nowak, Francis, Backer, Storger, and a traditional very fast start expected again today from Category 4.
We have a fast start expected. As you've seen, they are known for going from the gun. Will it happen again today? Well, it's time to find out on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club at qualifier race number 3.
Well, the clock ticks down, the red jerseys are waiting, the legs are turning, and away go Category 4, the first category away on our men's qualifier race number 3 in August. That heritage climb is waiting as Luke Allport is the rider taking it out from the gun. Ramos goes up and over the top. 8 watts per kilo from Ramos out of the pen. Let's get this party started.
Oh, here we go. This is it. Well, who's going to be able to dance away to victory? Who's going to be stood on the sidelines watching and swaying slowly with the amount of effort it takes? We'll see. Ramos very quick, Allport very quick. Good to see John back straight into the action as well. Robert Cronje up in this. Britt McMurty, Stugger. It really is quick. Look at the speed, 37 kilometres an hour.
Well, it is a flat start for the first kilometre or so of this race course today. The first sprint coming at 2 kilometres, which will give us a really good indication of the pace early on. Those sprints coming thick and fast.
And it's 300 metres, 2K to 2.3K. And it isn't the easiest sprint, it has to be said. It's more of an uphill type sprint.
It is.
AKA a short section on a climb. So we're going to see how that shows us. Now, for those people who've not watched before, the course is made up of segments. We do have our 6 segments in terms of sprints on the course. They are not contested in terms of prizes or points or indeed prize money. It is all about giving us a snapshot of who's doing what, where, when and how. Now, that is true also of the climb. The heritage climb is a climb in its own right. The finishing banner for that finishes 500 metres before the finale of the race, so at 44.5k. Remembering this is a 45-kilometre race. Now, these riders are away, and we have in front of us a new user head-up display. So the head-up display that our riders can see, we can see as well. So this is what Mark Dadson will see on his screen if he's got the head-up display up, which I'm sure he has. You can see that it is a really data-rich environment here. So we're going to run through this slowly but surely. We're going to pick out our first one. Emma, which one do you want to choose first? Go on, you can go first.
Let's go with the one at the top of the screen, right in the middle. It's the really obvious one to take a look at. Now, that first number in green, that's what's coming out of Mark Dadson. In green because he's well tucked into that group and in the draft. It'll shift to white when he is out of the draft and the power and taking the full bore of the wind. Moving time, 2 minutes 52. His current heart rate, 137. So quite a steady rate for Dadson. And his pedal cadence, currently 74 revolutions per minute. Now, the other thing just on the top there is the distance travelled, and you can see the group now 1.8 kilometres into that 45-kilometre race.
So the riders are making their way in and through. Top middle section there, we're just dropping across to Orego, so you can see those figures changing in terms of watts, heart rate, cadence. But of course, he's in pretty much the same place, so the distance is the same. And of course, moving time will be the same because they set off at the same time. Group 4 underway and out and racing. Total distance covered now 2.1k, and as you can see, they are into this sprint, and it looks like Marcus Brito just keeping the pace nice and high. The gradient increases. We're at 2%. Top right hand side of your screen, you just see the gradient profile up there. The kick coming from Brito. He will go underneath the banner. This will be the end of our very first segment. Let's see what they're going to do time-wise here, because we are fast approaching, heading into our next race start as well. So they've just gone flying through. Emma, have you got scores on the doors yet?
Well, I am currently waiting for a little refresh, but we're looking at 30 seconds going through there. Kaluma in 1, back into Allport in 3, but the pace has not come off that pack at all yet.
So super fast on its way through. Let's drop across to category number 3 in the blue here. We've got our Colombian Andean riders in their team, and that means with the fantastic platform, they can talk to each other on the platform. They don't need any other means of communication wherever they are. That's just achieved by switching on their mic. They can talk to their teammates and exercise some team tactics, but they're up against some pretty strong individual riders as well.
Well, they are. It's a great team to have, but 33 riders in total on the start sheets. Pledger is here, Quintero, Dijit, Staples, Monella, Acker, Eckersley, Gakes, Aaron, Elos, Noguera is here as well. These race fields now absolutely stacked.
So let's see who's going to take it out in category 3. Here we go. Time to push those pedals. It's time to go. And this is race start. Category number 3. Will they match category 4 with their pace out from the pens and onto this Alula course, onto the Heritage Climb route? Or will they have a more conservative, a steady start, saving their energy for later? Well, judging by the speed, 40 kph, they're not taking it easy either.
No, they are not, and that pack is well and truly at the start pen. Just a rider or two, just slightly distanced off the back of that group, and you can see it in the shot there. Just need to push now on those pedals to make the juncture again, but also, Matt, you can see it on that bottom left-hand side.
You can. Run us through that bottom left-hand side of the screen, Emma.
Yes, that bottom left-hand side of the screen gives the indication of the road and the course ahead. So you can see this sweeping right-hand bend, sweeping left-hand bend. I've got to get my left and my right sorted this morning, as Matt is laughing very much in the studio at the moment. You can just hear that little giggle. So this sweeping left-hand bend, you can see the larger blob of blue ahead of a single blue rider. So a gap now forming in this race field. You can see also the distance travelled, so again another indicator, 0.7 of a kilometre so far. Current pace 32 kph. You'll also see the gradient start to tick up as we go into the course.
So that gradient is top right hand side of the screen. You can see the 0.1, that is percentage. Basically, so it's a fractional increase of gradient, in fact leveling out now. You will see that tick right the way up and through, dependent on where we are on that course. And remember, there are lots of climbing sections here on this route. The first climb is at our first sprint segment. It's actually as part of that climb. We then drop down. We've got a really big climb kicking in, and that starts at just about 9.5k. So between 9.5 and about 12.7k, we have a big rise. That's the biggest climb prior to our final climb. We have a second little attack point potentially coming in, and that's going to come in at about 27.2k. That's actually quite a long drag, not a huge gradient percentage, but it's 39k cover before we hit the final climb. I expect that to be absolutely blisteringly quick. Category 3 looking very fast indeed at the moment. So we've covered the central section. We've covered the left-hand side of your screen. The right-hand side of the screen at the top, well, we've talked about that line being our gradient. You can also see the revolving cast of riders here. The players in the show today that are our riders who's not sure who's going to be our principal actor, but at the moment that's Luca Barla. He's the rider who's highlighted in the blue. You can see that all the jerseys down the right hand side are blue, matching the group of riders. If this is a mix of categories, then you'll see the relevant category colour on the right hand side of your screen. Each rider, it shows the watts per kilo, the distance and the time splits, and they are critical. If you are racing out on the road, on the track, on a mountain bike, pretty much anywhere other than on e-sports, you can see your rider, you can look for them, you know whether they're close, you can hear them breathing, you can hear the wheels, you can hear if they're out of the saddle throwing the bike from side to side.
Or you've got someone shouting splits at you from the side.
Indeed, so much information. Now, we can't replicate, obviously, everybody's breathing in your ears. We can't have somebody in your ears telling you the time splits, but what we can do is we can show you the watts per kilo, and that is a critical number. Without that, it's a bit like trying to race with a blindfold on. It isn't going to be very easy at all. It's possible, don't get me wrong, but it is not going to be easy. It takes an even higher level of skill. Having that information coming in is critical, and that is why that watts per kilo number is key. It is relative, basically, it is power to weight ratio, and when we hit the climbs, that becomes even more relevant. So you can see the riders on the screen. You can also see where it says SRC Men Qualifier, you can see the numbers, and that is the position in the race field overall. So that's the total number of riders who have taken to the start line, and it is the position overall. So number 1 is the furthest rider up the road with the most distance covered, and 128, I can guarantee, will be sat on the start line right now. Now, rider right up at the front of the road, rider number 1 is Luca Barla. Guess what? Luke Allport's gone for a solo breakaway here.
Yeah, he has indeed. So up and over some of the more climbing sections of this course. Now on the descent, Allport's put in an 18-second gap on what is the main pack in this Category 4 race. Now, we said Category 4 often one of our most aggressive race fields from the start. Settling down now, we can see the watts per kilo, 1.52 watts per kilo, 2.5, 2.3. So settling down now, but that first few minutes of this race, boy, did those Category 4 riders go for it. And it's Luke Allport who has benefited because he is away and clear.
He is, and you see that distance on the road. The road is just heading underneath the banner at the end of the sprint, coming through very quickly. I mean, they've already covered what is nearly 6 kilometres. So they're through the West Route Sprint. That's the second of our 300-metre segments that take them down the course. You can see our fastest starter, Renato Sartorio Ramos, here, highlighted in the centre. After that quick start, jumping in with this group. This pack is not breaking up, though. We're over the top of the climb. We're into a long descent, heading towards the first big hummock. There you are. Hummock. That's going to be the word for it, I think, which is going to kick in at just over 9.5K.
Well, Category 3, we are now on that climb, that first rolling section, and we've got a bit of a stretch on this group as well. So you can see on that bottom left-hand side of your screen, a bit of a stretch now. You can see beautifully there in that camera shot, and it's Rob Miller who is pushing on. So Rob Miller leading the charge at the moment, just coming over the top of him. Finati is there as well. Abello is there. So is Pledger and Luca Bala. Strong race fields we've got today.
So you can see this group coming underneath the various arches, past those UCI flags, and got to say big congratulations to the team at MyWhoosh HQ, securing the eSports partner with the UCI. The UCI, for those people that don't know, is the Union Ciclisme Internationale. It's basically the international governing body for all cycle sport, and that is from artistic cycling, for example, that Emma was commentating on through the mountain bike. I was commentating on the Worlds. And of course, it covers esports as well. And you can catch up with all the details on the MyWhoosh.com website. But essentially, really key. 24 to 26 esports partners. So looking forward to that. Be really interesting to see how that plays out when we move forward and how that partnership goes. Emma and I both, of course, commentators at World Cups for the UCI and at the World Championships, multiple World Championships, and we know what level of competition there is at a World Championships. Add into that the competition that we have seen, not just in the Sunday Race Club and Tune Up Tuesdays, but at the championships. It is immense. And some of the riders we're seeing on your screens now, we're playing it out in that championship. Alex Pledger, for example, that we've seen on the screens, really active in the MyWhoosh Championships. Will he make it in towards the World Championships?
I don't know about that, but at the moment, Pledger is absolutely pushing on here. And this is a concerted attack at the moment. So Pledger pushing on. Miller is there as well. Now they've got around 5 seconds on the chasing group. So 3 riders breaking away. Andrew Neville Ross is there with Alex Pledger and Rob Miller, rotating through the pack and pulling away.
You can see that little emote. That is basically the symbol the riders can pull up on their user interface, and they can hit the button, and basically you can say, let's do turn and turn about, let's go. Look, we've got a gap, let's make this work. Let's take turns, because if we work together, it's going to be quicker. And that is what the riders need to do. If you try and ride this race on your own with your own individual tactics, ignoring everybody else, you're not going to be realistically in for the win.
Talk about 2 different races on this out of the start pen already. So Category 4 we saw go through the first segment absolutely flying. Category 3 nearly 6 seconds slower through that first segment. Now that Category 4 race field, have they burnt their bridges? Have they gone too early? Was that first 5 minutes too hard? And will their legs last till the end?
Well, we will find out, and we're going to find out which of our Category 2 riders are going to be up there challenging. We've got a really strong race field here today in Category 2, and we have 2 teams with us. We have the ever-present UAE Falcons, Zaid Hamdan, Ahmed El Tanaji and Hassan Al Ramethri, up against the Hitmen, Dum Bum Bum, with Henry Issa, Jonas Bjorhead, Olivier Simmons and Nicholas Spratt. And I'm going to let you into a secret. When Emma saw that team put together, there was almost a gasp about how strong they were.
Well, you know, they took the win in the July final. That's absolutely loaded with the who's who of Category 2 riders. But Kirchner, Kayan, Cadiz, Betty, not in that team, and great competition. So away go Category 2 on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. It is qualifier race number 3 in August. Category 2, 36 riders on the start line today, up and out of the start pen.
And you mentioned a few names there, Emma, as we rolled into the start. We know that they're capable of taking victory, and it is a real mix, isn't it? As we've got riders moving up, we've got riders moving down from Category 1, up from Category 3, as these riders find their position. And that mixes it up. Jonas Bjarhed, another of our strong contenders, the rider that we're watching here in with the pack. Henry, so the Hitmen in there, Kagula in there, Krasnich in there, Jesus. I mean, you know, Eben Schwartz, good to see him back up and racing again.
Yeah, indeed,
Very
completely and utterly.
rider.
Indeed. You know, whilst we say the Hitmen are absolutely a strong team, you know, there are other seriously good riders in this pack. And, well, sometimes it just comes down to the day and how your legs are.
It does, and there's no team tactics, there's no team prize involved today because we are on our qualifiers. That changes when we go into our finals, and that is really, really key because those riders will be looking at who they want in their team, what's that team mix going to be, how are they going to communicate, what tactics are they going to use, are they going to test them out beforehand? Well, we're going to see certainly here on qualifier race number 3, the riders in Category 2 away, 1.5 minutes of racing covered. They've already gone nearly 1k on our course here in Alula with the Heritage Climber to finish on the route today. It's not the biggest climb, it's not the steepest climb, but it certainly takes its toll.
Well, I'll tell you, not taking its toll is a start here today on these Category 2 riders. This is a steady start from them. It's a big pack. They are rolling really fast. So currently rolling just shy, well, flitting around 40 kph on this flat section, but that's about the size of the pack and how the size of the pack is drafting. Because I'm looking at the screen at the moment, 2.7, 2.9, 2.6, 2.5. Very comfortable start from Category 2.
Are you calling them slow?
No, I was just saying I'm contrasting it to the absolutely eyeballs on stalks from Category 4.
Yeah, I'll give you that one. I think that's very accurate. Now, I don't think the truce is going to last long. James Krasnich very quickly responding to an attack now at 5 watts per kilo. Just drop him down a little bit here, but I think a little bit of a probing attack. He knows that he's coming into the climb. You can see a right-hand side. You've got this little roll down, this -2, -3. Their percentages, they are decimal places of percentages because it is a slight downhill. Pick the speed up and roll that pace in. So really interesting there. You could just see Krasnich going down. He rolled his speed. He used that slight downhill to build momentum into the climb. He's hit the climb, and that gap is about 3 to 4 seconds. And that is by riding smart there. That was really smart. Take the momentum and roll up.
Completely and utterly. That is about understanding the platform, understanding the dynamics, but really interesting to see the Hitman's Nicholas Spratt jump straight out and onto his wheel and covering the move.
So it could well be that we're seeing the tactics out to play Spratt, Simmons, Bjarhed and Ace, the Hitmen team riders, and they are going to want to cover the move. So I'll tell you something, having Nicholas Spratt in there, that's a good move for them.
Well, I tell you something, I think I spoke too soon because I said it was a nice steady start, but take a look at the what's coming out here. This is a sprint effort at the moment to try and go clear of this pack. It was a big group of nearly 40 riders on the start line. Well, Category 2 is matching Category 4 at the moment.
Well, let's see who is going to be joining them on Category 1, our top tier category. It's also the category where new riders join until that we have the data from them. Now, let's run through the teams. Well, the big team here today is the UAE Clan team. Michael Knudsen, Michael Vink, Pablo Popovic, SS and Mr. X100. 5 very strong riders, 3 riders to count when it becomes competition time. However, Massive pack here. I mean, it's a huge field, and we've got lots of riders who are going to be finding their place and probably moving out of this category.
74 riders on the start sheets today, and we know Noren Vujasin, Hoya Safrazad, X100 all also on form this month. But Solly is here, Noren, Bjorklund, Kaminsky, Howeller, Cutler, Vanden Eckhout, Graves, Nair, Van Elst. I could just keep going, but the clock is ticking.
It's ticking, and this is our race start. So, final group of riders underway in the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club Qualifier Race number 3, and everybody is out and rolling. So this is the final group. This is when it counts, the last chance to qualify before we are going to move on into our finals next week. This is where the riders have to get that verified riding. They want to get the performance. They'll want to stay in category 1. They want to be in with a chance of some big prize. And we are in with Michael Vink, the man who coined the phrase doing a Vink. Well, he was outdone. Somebody out-Vinked the Vink, yes, last time. You saw that on the rewind. And will he be able to respond today to the pressure put on? Very different course here today.
Yeah.
So in some ways, it's the same. It's relatively flat and a kick at the end,
but
the cup's
half
much smaller.
the amount of climbing.
Yeah, much smaller climb, and it's actually pretty tough on the way through, particularly the section that runs from about 9.5k through to about 12.5 kilometers, and then we have another tough section coming in at 27.5k right the way through to about 30k. So pretty tough stuff. Now, the group is away here. They're flying.
They are, and it's a plethora of yellow jerseys in front of us on the screen, and you can see them spread right down the field on the bottom left-hand corner. Currently in with SS, those trademark blue shoes, the trademark blue cap, absolutely identifying him in the pack as we see the pack settle down now, and they are rolling well. 35 kilometers per hour at the moment. They're only 1 minute 39 into this race. Up and out of the start pen, and we're starting to see those groups form as they look back down that road on the bottom left.
And let's expand just slightly on the thought about who's in the category 1. So category 1 has our proven race winners, the guys who can prove that they are going to be in at the kill in category 1. So they've got the data, they've got the power. And it's not just your FTP, your functional threshold power, it's also about how well you can sprint, your race tactics. You've got to prove it, and you've got to prove that on here. But you've also got brand new riders. So let's, for example, take a certain Tadej Pogačar, one of the most exciting riders.
He's not on the start sheet today.
He's not on the start sheet, but if he were, let's just imagine for a second that we had Tadej down here, one of the real highlights of the men's peloton. Instead of putting him in a low category and then going,
letting him work his way
you're
up.
really good, but he cleans up on the way through, we put all our riders, irrespective of ability, into category 1 first. Then, when they've proven that, and that's not just on the Sunday Race Club, you could, if you ride on, for example, the Tune-Up Tuesdays, or you ride on any of the group rides, all that data is taken into account. There's no fixed time. We don't set a bar that's, we're going to move you and we don't have the data. We're going to get the data first, then you're going to move. That way, we can put you into the correct category. Now, that means that our riders could be in category 1, 2, 3, or 4. They are separated by not just their ability level, but also with the prizes available. And, of course, they're separated by their responsiveness to speed, i.e. can they respond to an attack, a kick repeatedly. Now all that data is put in there, so Tadej Pogačar would indeed end up in category 1 without a shadow of a doubt. However, further down the race, first you might find a certain Matt Payne sitting round about the very bottom of category 2. It would be where I would sit on a good day. Probably at the moment it would be the very bottom of category 4, because riders' form does vary and their strengths varies through the season. You come out at the end of a really tough race, or at the end of a very busy season, you're going to not be wanting to go absolutely mully yourself every single day. So we're going to see how this changes as the riders go through the season. We've seen that for a long time now on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club, and again we're seeing a lot of action here.
Well, we're seeing Tim Cutler at the moment pushing on at the front. He's not unafraid to push on. But let's just take a look at the Old Town Sprint now. The first segment we are going to see, and it's Roncalli. In fact, it is all those green jerseys. So category 2 going through this segment the fastest. This was where it was fast and furious. 8.4 watts per kilo. Phenomenal pace from the category 2 field going through this segment. It was a real who's who of who could stay with the front of the race field as they pushed on. 25.077. Now, so the entirety, I'm going to say near enough the entirety of the category 2 race field went through with the fastest times. The category 1 race field went through 5 seconds slower, 24th place down, but mixed in with the category 4 race field, who were pretty much moving at the same pace as the category 1 field through that segment.
So let's just sum that up. Category 2 are blowing everybody else out of the water in terms of pace, and Category 1 and Category 4, what should be the fastest and in theory the slowest of the groups, are actually doing the same speed behind because of the differences in the style of racing. And you can see that on your screens, I think, because Category 1, I think, have woken up a little bit more now. You can just see this is not one big blob. They're going over the top of this climb section, and it has stretched this group out. We have not got one pack. You can see on the left-hand side of your screen a real difference in there.
Well, I was going to say, you have to wait for your morning coffee to kick in. But our riders are riding all around the world, all around the globe, at every different time in the 24-hour clock. For some of these riders, it is 1 a.m. in the morning. For others, it's 6 a.m. For some, it's 1 p.m. For some, it's 9 p.m. These riders come from all over the globe.
Well, they certainly do, and we see that on your screen, because you can see at the moment we're just in with Sanchez, one of our Colombian riders, I suspect. Judging by the flags there, you can see that we've got Costa Rica, we've got Scrett in there, that's from Sweden. We've got the Italian in there, I think it's Montallo. We've got Dutch in there, also working Hard Pleasure in there. That's the, I think that's the German flag, if I remember correctly. Just keeping a run through. Staples, I think, is New Zealand, coming through so fast and changing position. Rob Miller from the United States, even I can't get that one wrong, as they make their way through here. Real mix of nations and different time zones. So whether it's an early morning espresso or a late night latte, let's hope they've got on board what they need to fuel up. And we'd never recommend coffee as a fuel, really, because it's not going to get you through the finishing line as fast. Perhaps as a proper sports drink, proper hydration and fueling strategy, if you're going to make your way in and through to take our prize money at the end of the race, because there are big prizes at stake for all 4 of our race categories at the end of the racing. So here we are. Let's give you a nice indication here. So, qualifier racing, so that is our 3 qualifiers, or 4 if it's a 5-weekend month. Category 4 have our base level prizes, so that's 2,160 AD to 432 AD for the individual classification. Now, at the end of the month, the monthly final, we add in the team competition. As you can see, it is 5 times as much in terms of the overall prize for the team classification, 10,800 AED, and that is split between the team members. Fastest 3 riders are the riders who set that time in a team. As we move up the categories, the prize money goes up, 3,600 for the win in the individual classification, and 5th place 720 AED in category 3. A similar jump up to 18,000 in the team competition next week. Now, from 3 to 2, it's another big step up. 6,000 AED for first prize, 1,200 for 5th, and of course another big jump. 18,000 AED becomes second prize in category 2, with 30,000 AED for the top prize. But if you think that's big, that is not, because this is the big numbers. Category 1, 10,000 for the win, 10,000 AED, 50,000 for the team, and 10,000 AEDs not to be sneezed at. Now, For those of you that know that every week, if you've been watching, thank you very much. Please do suggest in currencies to give you an exchange rate in if you want to know something different. What is our exchange rate in this time round?
Well, we did Canadian dollars in the women's race. In the men's race, Swedish krona, 10,000 AED, 29,852 Swedish krona as of this minute on my Google exchange rate.
Well, Jeff, who does a lot of our videos, will be thinking, oh, that's a nice sum.
Well,
he definitely
there
will.
we go.
He will.
So as we are looking at the prize money, equal prize money in the men's and women's race, we're seeing an attack now. This Category 1 race starting to light up. The push is on. Can you think who it might be, Matt? I'm covering my screen, not yours.
That's the best thing I've seen all day. I would, even though I didn't actually look at the screen, I watched your hand cover up your screen, not look at mine. Phil Graves is an absolute given. But very interesting, the company that he has, because you can see SS has come across to mark him out of competition here. So with that attack, with that movement, you can see the numbers have started to really wind up. Francis Pino up in 2. The third spot there in Category 1 Riders moved. Good to see Hassan Sultan up in the top 5 as well.
Yeah.
Not far off the pace. Cutler Hernandez Mayer in there. But Nicholas van Haren taking top spot there. 6.2 watts per kilo. Nearly 500 watts. That was a big push by him, but that was because the attack came through that sprint, and that has made a big difference. The NASCAR pushing on. Lucas NASCAR, one of the real stars of esports racing, and this is hard racing here. Phil Graves yet again attacking. Phil Graves, who has ridden this platform probably as much as pretty much anybody, I think, on the planet. He knows exactly how this rides. We'll see whether or not he has got the measure of it today.
Well, it's the NASCAR SS Bjorklund up here at the front here. Now, that chasing pack, well, including these 4 riders, 35 riders at the head of this Category 1 race, 4 riders out front, 31 chasing. It is a huge competition today in this Category 1 race, and they are trying to light the fire underneath it. So it's a NASCAR, Graves, Bjorklund, Cutler, Pino. Great to see Pino progressing from Category 2 to Category 1 and absolutely giving it his all, racing with this quality fill today. So Luca Zanaska, Graves, SS, X100 leading the charge behind, but the charge behind now 7 seconds back.
7 seconds back, and you can just see at the moment Mistakes 100 just holding the front of that group. Kaminsky goes over the top at 10 watts per kilo. That is a definite pursuit. He knows the danger of letting a group go clear that contains one of the UAE clan team. He doesn't want that to stick, and as he kicks on, he's got Cutler, Nuz and Safrazad chasing.
Well, they are not just chasing, they are absolutely sprinting here, because this potentially could be a decisive move, and they really don't want to miss it now. 35 riders towards the front of this Category 1 race. Ideally, they probably want to take about 15 into that climb. Now, is this going to be one of those decisive moments?
Well, it's really interesting. Long, gradual downhill as they've gone over the top. And we've seen, and you can see on the left-hand side of your screen, we've got leaders just going clear. They've got about 6 seconds. You've got a big chasing group behind, and then you've got an even bigger pack behind them. This is really interesting because when they go clear on this downhill, they've got momentum with them. They're going to carry this, but you can see top right-hand side of your screen, we are coming in towards the key section for me prior to the final climb. This is the hummock.
The hummock.
Hummock is basically
the opposite of a hammock.
Yeah, it's like a hammock shape, but the other way up.
Hummock. A hummock.
There you go. Hummock, today's word of the day, hummock. It is a bump. It's a little bump in the road on our profiles. It's a big bump in the progress of the riders because it does kick steeply. You can see that on the gradient, and it is flattened out. Anybody who has just looked at the course profile will think, oh, it's not really very much to the final climb. Anybody who's ridden on the platform who knows how accurate it is to riding on the road and how those hills feel when you hit them with the turbo trainer set or your smart trainer set the right amount will know just how tough this is. And it is going to take its effect. And that group are going to go in with a gap of about 7 seconds into the climb. Now, that is when both sets of riders are pretty much on the flat. That's the best time for us to tell, because time gaps are taken based on relative speed at position. It is not an old school time check. We don't start the clock when the riders go underneath the purple banner and then stop the clock when the next group go under. It's based on essentially GPS, which is measuring speed and it's measuring distance covered. It sort of basically means that if the chasing group are on a downhill and the leading group are on an uphill, it won't show you the accurate check. You've got to get them on the same type of terrain. Now, Van Haren again, top spot here, Emma, but look at that. Van Haren, Bjorklund, Graves, SS, and Nasker, Cutler. It's all those key actors.
Well, it is indeed, and there is not really any difference in time through that segment from the leading four to the chasing group, which tells me that they are pretty much holding their own out front at the moment. But Von Haren, Bjorklund, Graves, SS, Zanaska, Cutler, Montoya, Vujasin, the top 8 there. Bit of a scroll down through my screen. The top places right the way down to 33rd. Category 1 riders. Can you guess which race field are second?
Category 3.
Nope, Category 4.
Ooh, Category 4. Very interesting. They are on a real mission today.
Well, they are, aren't they?
From the word go. So Category 1, all action at the races today. Say Safrazad in this pack, chasing Safrazad again. Another rider who we know has got some serious skills, but he is responding to Michael Knudsen.
Well,
Knudsen's trying to go over, isn't he? Here,
yeah,
this
Van
is
Elst is moving through as well, because Knudsen would have been the expected rider to attack on the climb, and he is doing just that, leading the charge to the group ahead, and he's now got it down to 3 seconds. So Knudsen stringing them out behind.
Say Safrazad comes up on his wheel. So you got Safrazad, you got Knudsen, you've got Van Elst. I think you're going to have Hoyos in here, Vink in here. The leading four are going to have seen their lead disappear. It is going to have disappeared in a matter of a few hundred meters here, and this is where it's dangerous to be at the back of the group, because at some point you will reach that tipping point. The group behind chasing will fracture. More and more riders will make the lead group, and that will become the bunch.
Wow.
And if you are not in that leading group, which becomes the bunch, you will be in trouble. And you can see that bottom left-hand side of your screen.
That is what's happening. That is exactly what's happening. We can see the gaps forming. We can see that concertina effort. The group stretched down the road. Now coming back together again. We've got a group of riders off the back. We've stretched again as the kick has gone again. And now those yellow jerseys, well, they are strung down the road.
They certainly are, and I think as this race continues onwards, we're going to see this time and time again. But this is that key point. Remember, this runs up to about the 12.2k mark, about another k of climbing yet as they come up this climb. And just taking a look a little further down the road, because Krasnich is up and heading over the top. Krasnich has gone clear on this climb in Category 2 in those green jerseys. He has a 3-second, now 7-second lead on the group behind, and this is because he's picking up pace faster on the rest of the riders. You can see he's going to have Henry East up here with him.
And where's he from?
Oh, it wouldn't be the Hitmen by any chance, would it?
The Hitmen are covering every move today in Category 2. So he's coming back onto the rear wheel of Krasnich. The riders behind, well, it's looking like that's 12 seconds now back. This is a concerted effort from these two. And if they could now work together, well, this could be something.
It could indeed. We're approaching a third race distance at 15k out to 45, so we're heading that kind of direction. 2 riders though is a lot of work to do, because we are over the biggest ascent prior to our final climb. It is bumpy, it's rolling, it's got a little bit of flat in it, but it's definitely not an FRB section. If it is, it's one of the longest ones going. I think you need to be in a pretty big group here. Now, as the riders go through, just taking a look here, this group has not coalesced into a fixed size, but it's definitely not 30 riders. Not sure this is going to be definitive, but it's looking pretty good. So you just see the splits going.
Well, I reckon that's about 12 by my count.
So 12 riders at the front. Remember, that was a 30 plus rider group. So at the moment, This is about breaking that group down.
Wow, and Graves has gone again, Matt.
He doesn't want this to go together, does he?
He really doesn't. He really wants to light up this race. Now, regularly one of our riders who lights up the first hour of the racing. It's going to be really interesting today to see what happens with Graves. Van Hoyers has gone, so's Kaminski, and Bjorklund Knudsen is there. Walter van den Eckhout. You know, these are the riders we expect to see at the front of this Category 1 race.
And a chasing group behind, just making contact. This is by no means all the riders that we set off with. They are absolutely flying. We're going to get a good snapshot of that. If you're just joining us, a quick reminder that the sprint segments are not for points or prizes, but they do give us an indicator of exactly who is traveling. It's a discrete segment, so it's measured from the start of the segment to the end in terms of time. It is not in terms of overall position. So fast chasing riders can come through and set the fastest times. What is very, very interesting for me, Cutler Walter, Carradine, Van Eekhout, Mr. X100 for Category 1 have gone through just in front of Tom Gates. Gates in Category 3 has really flown through there as well. But the main pack and the race leaders are not necessarily the fastest times. So they're racing really all over the place.
It is indeed. 3 seconds separating the first 48 riders going through there. And that doesn't include Phil Graves. Phil Graves in 50, let me put my teeth back in 51st place going through there.
51st place. Okay, so 51st place for Phil Graves as he came through that sprint in terms of the time for that sprint. And yet, as you've seen, very, very quick, very aggressive. Just that snapshot, not capturing him. A bit like blinking when the camera flash goes off. That was the moment when Phil Graves was blinking rather than all eyeballs out and on the attack. Now, on the attack in Category 3, you can see the leading riders really pushing here, trying to keep clear of a pack behind. It's not huge, this gap. It is not decisive.
No, not at
They're
all.
on this descent, and there is this little bit of a rise on the way down that takes them up and round, and you can see that group coming behind. It's not easy. 0.5% sounds nothing, but you know what? When you're flat out, any little increase in gradient is going to make a difference. And as they come back together, this is prime time for a counter-attack. You've just seen Pablo Domanuan just pushing over the top here, trying to stretch the gap out. Looks like Miller from the United States very quickly up in pursuit, but this group is huge. There's no other word to describe it. Big group, big pack, well matched, very evenly matched, and at the moment they look like they have got the race pretty much under control in terms of Category 3. Have you got an idea, Emma, of how many riders in Category 3 at the moment?
Well, I can tell you, 27.
Oh, 27 riders.
27 riders in the leading group. Well, there's not 27 riders in this leading group that we are watching at the moment, but there's still a significant number of yellow jerseys in there, and it is a who's who of Category 1 racers in the names on that right-hand ticker, because they are all in here. Knudsen, Vujasin, Vink, Safrazad, Zanaska, Hoyas, Nair. They are here thick and fast and continuing to push on this race.
So SS now responding to the move by Graves, but everybody comes piling over the top. Nobody wants to let him go clear. But again, Phil Graves is really making them work for the money today. Will he be able to be in at the kill? Will he have done enough damage to the rest of the riders? Well, only time will tell here. The MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club, it is well and truly aligned. The racing here, they've not just settled flaying the corners, they've poured petrol on it, and the man who's doing the boring is Phil Graves. He's got the gap again. He keeps on going. I don't know where his fuel supplies are from, but my goodness, he's got plenty in the tank today. But will he burn out quick? Will it be over in a flash before we get to that final climb? It's going to be fireworks when we hit it.
Well, revving the engine at the moment is the front of this race. It is not the chasers here who are very steady state at the moment. The pace high because of the downhill. So 48 kilometers per hour, but we are on a 2.7 downhill gradient at the moment as they swing round the right-hand bend. Yep, I did get that right. So Juan Hoyos here, we are watching to the left, to the right. It is really great. Just checking everyone knows my left and my right. But indeed, they are pushing on here. So Vujacin, Cutler, Graves, all in and around. We've got riders off the front. In fact, this is great because you can, on the bottom left-hand side of your screen, you've got a beautiful shot now of the pack we are currently in with, and then the riders a little further down the field. This group cannot see them because they are hidden by the bend, but as they come onto the straight, well, what's in sight is easier to chase.
It is. Out of sight, out of mind is a well-used and very, very true phrase. This group chasing a solo leader. However, behind them, you can just see at the very bottom of the sat-nav graphic, down by that kilometer per hour marker and the speedometer down there, another pack. Now, we are in with the group dead center of the circle, but you can see at the bottom of the circle, that is a chasing group behind. The split, the attacking by Grace has effectively eliminated what is 50% of that bunch and put them in a massive deficit behind. Meanwhile, Phil Graves is continuing to attack. He keeps on getting marked out by people.
Well, let's remember SS is up there too.
Yeah, SS though, I don't think he's attacking. This SS is, if you had to have a teammate, you had to pick one, SS would be in you. You know, in school when they had like football, where I was at school a long time ago, when you kick the ball out the playground, you pick your teams, and there'd always be somebody picked first out of each side. There'd be the ace footballer, and you'd pick your teammates. If you were picking your teammate, I'll tell you something, one of your first picks, the first draft would be SS, because he is absolutely superb at working for that UAE clan team, and yet you know he's a threat. The teams can't let him go down the road. They know, the other riders, that if they leave SS alone on the front, he's got the power to take this.
Well, the group have come back together again, and Phil Graves kicks again. He's let them come back up onto his wheel, and then he's gone at 8.3 watts per kilo. Graves digs in to continue to make this hard work for the climbers, because this is not a huge climb today. They've already done over 100 meters. It's 506 meters in total for this category 1 group of men. That final climb is going to be so tight because they are of such high quality, the riders in this race field. Philip Graves, well, dig, 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 and let's see how much we can make those legs hurt before we get to the climb.
And it's going to do damage, because this constant attacking and responding at a high pace is not going to suit the climbers. Those people who can climb really well tend, on the whole, not to like really fast, really aggressive, really hard early riding. And that is what we are seeing time and again from Phil Graves. He's really making these riders pay. Now, you can see left-hand side of your screen. This is category 1, right-hand side of your screen is category 4. They're separated on the road at the moment. It's 18k for category 1. It's nearly 28k for category 2. It's actually about 9.7, 9.6k separating these riders at the moment. That is from the leading category 1, from the leading category 4 riders. Really interesting to see. Category 4's fast pace means that as we rocket our way through the Alula course, category 4 at the moment are doing a great job, just as a byproduct of that fast racing, of holding off the rest of the race fields.
Well, they are indeed holding them off, but they won't hold them off forever, because as soon as the mountain arrives, as soon as the wheels go skywards, this race, well, if we haven't had enough already, it is going to get seriously exciting.
So here we go through the East Route Sprint. The East Route Sprint is number 5 of 6 sprint segments on the way through. Graves, Van Els, Kaminsky, Bjorkland, Hoyer, Safrazad, Zanaska and Venk. But key thing here for me, separated by not very much at all in terms of time.
Well, 18 riders confirmed in that lead group in category 1. 1.7 seconds from the back of the group to the front as Michael Vink goes off the front now. Vink, he is dangerous. Knudsen is... I was about to say, Knudsen is covering the move. Knudsen is on the same team as Vink. Van den Eckhout and Cutler are there. Now that I would expect. But as Knudsen comes up and over the top of Vink, Vink now pushing on to his wheel. Now these two would have to make a concerted effort to go clear, but what a 2-up time trial that would be.
So Vink doing a Vink. Knudsen, who knows how to do a Vink, also with Vink. This is very Vinkified.
Well, behind SS, covering the front of the pack actually, Phil Graves deciding he's going to mix it up as well because, well, he's just Phil Graves. Vujasin Hoyas there, Van den Eckhout at the front. They've not yet made the push on the pedals to join them. So Knudsen, Vink and Graves.
Well, I don't think Phil Graves knows how to take it easy. He just knows how to race and loves racing.
Well, Vujasin is coming too.
Yeah, look at this. Vujasin coming across side. Safrazad coming across, trying to bridge across.
Well,
he's got Zanaska, but I tell you something, they're struggling to
are.
hold the pace and get across.
It's downhill. This is why this is so hard, because this is a downhill effort. Phenomenal place to break away. Vujasin doesn't want to miss the party, neither does Zanaska, but they are not there yet.
They're not, and this downhill. So wind speed and wind resistance, it is not just a linear line. It is a ridiculous curve because basically the faster you go, it squares rather than doubles. That's the basic premise. So to go faster on a downhill requires so much more power to get a substantial speed difference because you've got this wind effect, because you've got this draft effect. Just like you find out on the road, the riders who are coming across in individuals as ones and twos, they are having to do the work themselves. Say Safrazad on this group, he comes across the gap here, he joins Knudsen in here. This, I think, is going to be a really interesting little group here because this kick, it must have done damage. How can you remember, Emma? Oh, do you have in your notes there? Because I know you've been scribbling furiously even. How many were in this group last time we came through that last segment?
18.
Okay, that looks like almost 18, so it's almost back together again.
They have pulled back together again. It wasn't, but then the back group then met through to the front group, so pretty much the same number of riders now in this group together. 18 riders, all now back together again after what was a little bit of frantic effort.
It was indeed. It was frantic, and they're trying to break clear. These two, however, have gone clear, and they've done so with some aplomb because it is James Krasnich right on the front with Henry East as well. So Krasnich and East just about 30 seconds, half a minute clear. So Ace from the Hitmen, he's got Krasnich. Krasnich, we know, more than capable of taking a win. He is through behind. Knudsen now pushes on, and this is on this little rise on descent. Very quick response there from Lucas Zanaska, who goes up over the top of Knudsen. And this is on this slight rise. So the descent off the main hill, we've got a little rise, then it drops back down again. 21.9k covered. This little rise and fall, it's innocuous, and yet these riders, they're using every nook, every cranny, every rising gradient at the moment to try and break this group apart. And when you see riders of the quality, you know, we're talking World Tour team riders like Michael Vink, not able to go and just go clear, not do a Vink, well, it certainly looks to me like this is going to be a hard race at the finale.
Well, these are world-class esports riders. Week in, week out, they race each other on esports. On the Sunday Race Club, we've watched Knudsen, we've watched Van Elst, we've watched Nair, Van den Eckhout, Zanaska, Cutler take on the might of the UAE clan team. Popovic is in there as well. It gives us fantastic racing to watch. It gives them fantastic racing to be part of, and this is what we get to see.
We do, so make sure you subscribe to MyWhoosh live on Twitch TV. The full Technicolor screen's coming out. We actually have it here in the studio as well, and the detail is amazing. I'm just going to show Emma. I'm going to zoom right in on it. No matter what graphics we pull up, it's done live. There's no compression on the live on MyWhoosh. live on Twitch
Crystal
TV.
clear.
It is absolutely crystal clear, so make sure you have a watch, subscribe to that, you'll catch all of the action. Whilst you're online, make sure, of course, you follow MyWhoosh on Facebook, on Instagram. If you are on X, aka Twitter, it's my_whoosh. Whilst you're on there, don't forget, of course, you can follow me. It's Matt Fixer Payne. You can follow Emma at Biking Emma. See where we are, what we're up to. You can. We do occasionally put out videos of me suffering up the climb, and no doubt Emma. We never film sprints where I actually get my own back. Oddly enough, we might have to do that.
I'll tell you what, you can film the sprint whilst you're sprinting.
Not a chance. I do well. Just hold on to the handlebars, giving it everything, and I'm still nowhere near as quick as Michael Kaminsky, who put a little bit of a push in there. You can just see Munoz going over the top in front in the Category 2, who is ahead of him there in Category 1 with him. But the time gap, interestingly, between the Munoz group of Category 2 and the Category 1 is still over 2 minutes separating them, and they set off with a 5-minute gap between. It's been halved, but we are over half race distance now, so 23.6k covered. The Category 1 leaders starting to go past the rest of the riders. Meanwhile, you can see we're just in with Orego at the moment. Orego currently at 29.9. He is just coming over that bridge. He's got a long downhill coming up, and at 29.9 he's gone past all of our sprint segments, all of those snapshots. He is the leader in Category 3. So he has gapped Tom Gates and co of 22 seconds back to the chasing group behind. At the moment, it's Orego who's doing a Tom Gates has just said, come on, do a turn. There's nobody on his wheel to do a turn. He's saying you need to work or we're going to lose out on the chance of taking top spot here. And at the moment, that is what's happening. Gates is doing all the work here. So the rider from the Netherlands at the moment trying to basically fire this group of riders up, because they are starting to lose more and more ground. One kick, one attack won't work. They won't cut the mustard. They really do need to push on here, because if they push together, they will close the gap down. Meanwhile, Julio Orego is looking to keep the gap to a maximum. He has gone down the road. So Category 3, one lone leader, chasing a group. They're starting to mop up riders who've been dispatched from the very front of the Category 4 race field. But the Category 4 leaders are still our leaders on the road. They are further down the road here. And you can see right-hand side of your screen now, the Category 4 group there. This is the leading group. Olpart, Noaka, Carvajal, but Francis in there as well as Dadson. So they are absolutely flying. 33.1k for Category 4 leaders. They currently have what looks to be 2.2k on the chasers behind them. So that is a substantial group as Mark Dadson starts to kick on here. He's at 33.3. Remember, we don't hit the climb proper of the heritage climb here until 39 kilometers covered. That means there will be 6k to the summit from when we hit the start banner of our climb, and the climb covering all the distance to within 500 meters of the summit. Dadson, always aggressive, always on the attack. He's the Phil Graves of Category 4.
Well, he's a good rider to watch, and he's a good rider pulling away here. So Category 4, never a group to disappoint. They really do provide us with fantastic racing to watch and commentate on. Category 4, you know, now 36 riders in Category 4. We've seen riders progress to Category 3 and do well, developing riders and moving through. So Mark Dadson pushing on at the front of the race. He's at the front of the race field. Now, that race field started significantly earlier than Category 1. So Category 4 started first, 5 minutes then to Category 3, 10 minutes to Category 2, and then a further 5 minutes to Category 1. So Category 1 have been racing now coming up for 38 minutes. They are 26 kilometres into this race. And, well, I was going to say we've settled down a little bit as I saw 8 watts per kilo coming out of Mr. X100. But we have settled down a little bit now, settling down around 3.5 watts per kilo, rolling through now one very tight leading blob on the road.
I tell you something, that is a rider who's been very quiet today. Mr. X100 has been notable by his lack of aggression rate, lack of chasing. He's chased, he's in the right place, he's been in and around without expending energy. That is a very dangerous thing.
Well, I think actually a lot of riders have been quite quiet today. You know, even though Knudsen and Vink chased down that breakaway, they did it on the climb where they know they were strong in comparison to everybody else. You know, they are settling down and doing a bit of recovery at the moment. Simon Walter, who we're in with at the moment, heart rate now about 150. Nice and steady, cadence 59, pottering along. I say pottering along, he's now pushed on. And you know why he's pushed on?
Gone.
Because Mr. X100 is pushing on the front. So X100 pushes on the front, the rest of them now picking up the pace. Just a slight climb here, so that little relapse we saw in the racing, that little quiet section, it's not quiet anymore. X100, the UAE clan team member, gone up and over the top. Phil Graves responds, Michael Vink is there too. So Philip Graves, Stefan Van Els deciding to take up the mantle with Bart van den Eek out. These riders all now marking each other. It's a big pack at the front, 18 riders.
18 riders, it's too big.
Well,
too
the
big,
strength and depth of this race field, you know, it gets better and better and better.
It certainly does. It certainly does. And what a platform to do it on here. As we've got another move. It's Michael Vink this time who's gone for it. He's down the road. He's at nearly 7 watts per kilo. Vink is trying to break clear here once again. What response is he going to get? Who's going to go? Here we are. Next rider is going. Looks like that's Knudsen. Oh, it's Vajassin as well. So look at this. Vink, Knudsen, Vajassin, Zanaska, Van Elst. They don't want to let these riders go clear. They know that if they give them any kind of ground... No, you can't give them a meter. You can't give them a centimetre here because they will go clear and stay clear. You've got to react and react fast.
You do indeed. You cannot let the likes of Michael Vink get a gap, but really interesting to see Sen X100 down the road, bringing back in. Sen Vink down the road, bringing back in. This is a UAE clan team absolutely intent on taking the win today. Who are they going to let have the win? Well, Pablo Popovic has been very, very quiet today.
Ooh, the momentum master himself.
Momentum master, the guy who can sprint off a climb. But we're talking about a sprint, and well, this is the final sprint segment of the day. Zanaska going through the quickest from Nair, from Hoyers, from Van Elst, SS Popovic, Kaminsky X100, 22.2 seconds. The fastest time through there, 8 watts per kilo. Phenomenal work from that Category 1 race field. They are absolutely giving it their all today. I'm having a little quick scroll down. 17 riders confirmed in that leading group.
Well, 17 riders confirmed in the leading group. Michael Knudsen on the move goes very, very quickly to the front, but just as quickly overtaken by Michael Kaminsky, Said Safrazad, Pablo Popovic. There you go. Maybe he's heard you, Emma, on the commentary. I know a lot of the riders are listening and watching live. And if you are racing listening in, then... thank you very much, guys, for keeping us entertained and giving us lots to talk about today. So much so, we've hardly had time to mention the fantastic news that has come out that was broken during the course of this week. August 17th, actually, the news broke that MyWhoosh is going to be the exclusive cycling esports platform and the organizer of the UCI Cycling Esports World Championships for 2024, 25 and 26. And the full statement from the UCI and from MyWhoosh available on the MyWhoosh website. Just go click onto the news section for it. But one point that really did strike home was the comment by David Lepation, the president of the UCI, who basically said, it's great to see they hosted a magnificent Urban Cycling World Championships in 2022. I was lucky enough to be there on the mic for that, commentating on that for the UCI. Do you know what? It was absolutely spectacular, fantastic to see. And that event's going back in 2024. And don't forget, we've got the Road World Championships and the Gran Fondo World Championships in 2028. and the Trek World Championships in 29. And it just shows, these are his words, they all add to Abu Dhabi's reputation as host of top-class cycling events. And having been there for them, lucky enough to be there, oh my goodness, it's great. Everybody, make sure you book your plane tickets in advance, get your hotels booked, get out there. I intend on riding some of that course before it happens. It's on my bucket list. I want to be there and do that. It might well happen, but I've got to be a bit quicker.
Well, being there and doing it is absolutely what is going on at the moment wherever these riders are around the world. They are giving us some great racing today in Category 1. They are on the Boardwalk Bridge. They are pushing on, and I'm wondering whether any respite can be gained before they go into the bottom of their climb. They're coming up for 30 kilometres of a 45-kilometre race distance. That final climb comes at 39k. Now, it is not a particularly hilly run in. It is pretty much rolling and maybe flat. It is pretty much flat. So 506 meters of climbing on this course completely, 161 meters already done, 297 meters of climb mat on the final climb. And I think we're going to get the opportunity to take a look at that heritage climb because we are going to go to the race course today. So at 39 kilometres, that final climb comes into play. 5.5 kilometres till the polka dot banner, signifying the end of the climbing segment, but then another 500 metres to the checkered flag. That Category 3 climb, an average gradient of 5.3%, but we know it gets much steeper, Matt, on the way.
It does, and key for me, you can just see that there are essentially 4 key steps here. There's a tiny step 1, there's a bigger step 2, and then it's got a bigger platform, it levels off. Even bigger step 3, that's just over halfway up that climb. That's got a little dip at the end to get some momentum in. Then one of the really steep ramps up to that tiny little pinnacle, drop down flat again, but the very top, the last slopes going in could be decisive, because if you can carry the momentum over the top, the gaps will open up on that last little section. Really key. It's almost sawtooth. It's very, very difficult to get the pacing right on this. It's not steady state. You've got to be able to
having ridden it before and having recce'd the route, absolutely essential here in terms of knowing where to kick, knowing where to take a micro rest, and knowing where to attack on the run into the finish.
And one man who's done that time and time again, Mr. X100, has ridden this route, the Alula course, one of the very first courses on MyWhoosh. Rode this about 16 months ago. I first rode on this, maybe more, pretty 18 months ago I first rode it. It was one of the very first routes, and it was always a great route to ride around the Elephant Rock. The graphics have changed, the way it feels has changed. It's all improving all the time. That's one of the big things about MyWhoosh. You've got to remember, it's going to be constantly updating because it's always wanting to improve. But he's ridden every version of this course, and the man who's chasing him, so is Phil Graves, his nemesis. These two have been battling it out on Sunday Race Club since its inception.
Now they have indeed, as Phil Graves comes up onto X100 as well. Just taking a little look behind, and no one seems particularly bothered in the group behind to push on. Graves wanting to move across to X100, so X100 and Graves, 2 riders at the front. 6 seconds back now to the chasing group behind, utilising the descent to pick up some momentum and to break away from the group. But shortly, they will be coming into the climb.
So a quick reminder, climb is at 39k. These riders at 32.5, currently travelling at 47 kilometres an hour. And look at the signal there. That's really interesting. Miss X100 wanted Phil Graves to come and do a turn there. He had already got the emotes out and gave him a spin round.
Well, take a look on the right-hand side of your screen. Mark Dadson has been brought back into the group, and Luke Allport has got off the front. So Allport 20 seconds clear now in this Category 4 race. This is the chasing group behind.
And they are chasing the race leader. Dadson being caught by the pack, that group, but Allport is clear. 25 seconds up the road. We are on the climb. You can see the gradients are kicking in. You can see the first of those big steps top right hand side of your screen, and look at the colours on your screen. They are absolutely burying themselves here. They know that the start of the climb can be so decisive. That transition from the flat on to the ascent, the increasing gradient, absolutely key. They need to push. They need to try and stay with Dadson. He's got a gap. You can see it on the left-hand side of your screen. You can also see that the lead rider, Allpot, is up the road. He's just about in sight for Dadson if he scrolls in. But I think he is, at the moment, got enough of the gap. 24 seconds. It's not much. It's only 100 meters on the road. But Allport, we know, is capable of holding a good pace. He's just got to be able to use his energy wisely. The gap back to the main group is 33 seconds. Dadson taking nearly 10 seconds out of the group. On the base of the climb alone, he is flying.
Yeah, Allport in 1, Dadson in 2, Velez in 3. They are pushing on now. It's a 25-second gap Allport has got, but Dadson's got an 8-second gap to the chase group behind, and it's looking like 1 or 2 riders just starting to push on behind. The gradient has been quite consistent, around 6.5%. But Dadson working now. He's about to get a little bit of relief as the gradient starts to drop before they move on to the next kicker. Cannot see Allport. Allport is already up and round the bend.
He is, and it does mean that he's got a chance of staying clear. Similar gap back from Arago to the Gates Montalto, the group behind Quintero in there as well. Hoyos, big chasing group, 35 seconds back, and you can see left-hand side the riders in front of Arago. They're on the climb. He's just gone underneath the banner for the start of the climb, but he has got a trail of breadcrumbs to chase. Hacker, 17 seconds up the road. Milano, 29 seconds up the road. Cadiz, 38 seconds up the road. You've got Arago currently at 38 seconds as well. Then you've got Schoberg and Satorio Ramos at 1 minute 30. There is a nice trail of riders. So if he can keep his head together, keep the pace at a pace that keeps him just below the red zone, right on the limit, he is going to be able to use them as a target and pick them off on his way up. Category 3, remember, starting 5 minutes behind Category 4. Now, 10 minutes behind Category 3 were Category 2. These are your 2 leaders. And we've got Krasnich clear with Ace here. 43 seconds, they've got a little bit more time, but they are still a little way back. They're at 35.5k, which means that they have still got what is going to be essentially 3.3k to the climb.
Well, now these two are dangerous in Category 2 for me. You know, both regularly finishing in the top 5, both capable of climbing really strongly. Now, with, well, I'm just taking a look, 45 seconds at the moment. They are not on the climb yet. 35.8k completed. The climb starts at 39k. If these two can hold this gap going in, you know, Matt, they may well be able to secure a 1-2.
Yeah, and again, very similar sort of time gap back from Mistakes 100 and Phil Graves. They're working together, Mistakes 100 and Phil Graves. Common goal, wanting to get onto this climb as fast as they can and to open up that gap. Now, if I'd have said to you, Emma, at the start of the show, my prediction is we're going to have 5 groups go in, all chasing leaders who've broken away in every one of our categories. Would you have called me mad?
Possibly not.
You think that was predictable, do you?
Well, I think they are predictable for different reasons.
Go on.
Well, Category 4 always is really hot out of the pen.
Yep.
So that normally does split it up.
Yep.
Category 3 often is a group race to a sprint.
Okay.
So interesting to see someone utilising a different tactic today and seeing if it works. Category 2, I think, has such strength and depth now. Absolutely, it needs to be a hard race and you need to try and do something different because the strength and depth in Category 2 is so strong. So going in to what is a shorter climb today, I think you take a really big group into a long climb. If we've got a 15-kilometre climb like we do in Colombia, you take a big group in because it'll all sort itself out. This is a short climb. You know, every rider in each of the race categories is pretty much well matched. So having an attacking style of racing, well, that's a good tactic today.
It's certainly paying off now. We've seen a response to the attack by Phil Graves and Mr. X100. The chase is on behind, and again, it's blowing this group apart. They've just come over that slight rise and fall as they come through at what is 36 kilometers covered here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. They're trying to close down 2 leaders. The gap had gone to about 25 seconds. I think it's down to about 15 now, and they're on very similar terrain as they do so. They are flying past riders. Montoya having a real ringside seat to this big pack of riders who are chasing 2 leaders, but the differential in watts per kilo I don't think is enough to come back. It needs a more concerted chase, not just a sprint and stop.
Well, it's not a sprint and stop because X100 and Graves pushing on here. Knudsen and Safrazad doing some chasing behind this group, now really needing to close this. It's about 150 meters distance between these riders here. The riders on the right-hand side of the screen are the 2 leaders. The riders on the left-hand screen, the chasing group. They have still some way to go until they get to our Category 3 mountain, where they will see the finish line at the top. But I'm looking at this thinking they may well go in with this 20-second gap.
I'm going to go for not. There you go.
Okay,
That's
so
prediction.
I'm going they are, you're going they're not. We'll see who's right shortly, but there's a lot of other racing going on as we drop into the Category 4 race now. Luke Allport had broken clear by around 23 seconds, but take a look in the distance. That is Mark Dadson. He pushed on from the chasing group at the bottom of the climb, and his strength in climbing has really paid off today because he's closed the gap to the lone leader, Luke Allport. He's shortly going to come up onto his wheel. Now, Valles behind, 13 seconds behind Dadson, and then the rest of the chasing group 35 seconds down the mountain.
They are, and that is a big gap. Valles, though, on a good ride here today. Maybe not quite matching Allport or Dadson on here, but Dadson is going to make the junction now. What is key here? They're at 41.6k. They still have what sounds like not very much, 3.4k. So 3,400 meters. Bearing in mind the bike is 2 meters long, it doesn't sound very much. However, you look at the course profile that they've got in front of them, they have got a real big kick. It's going to level out for our Category 4 riders on the right of our screen. Category 3, though, they are pretty much at the end of their next level, slightly less inclined section. They're at the other end of this section. So just going over the top goes at Dadson, 0%. He's chasing Allport. If these two can get together and work together, accelerate along this flatter section, they're going to be able to motor on. Meanwhile, at 8.5% on the left-hand side, you can see it's the 2 riders separated not just by that distance on the course, but by about 10 kph.
Well, if I can say what I'm thinking at the moment, I am loving this new graphic on the bottom left-hand side of your screen, because you can see our race field on the mountain, not just the race field we are looking at, which is Category 3, but Category 4, where they are as well, and how this race is playing out, because look at the stretch on that Category 3 race. Those blue jerseys look like a snake down the mountain. So pushing on at the front, Category 3, Category 4 dropping a little bit further back. They are shortly about to start to see this go skywards. In fact, Usain Kranich, well, they are seeing it go skywards now.
They are into the climb. They've gone beyond that 39k marker through the banner that's down in the town 200 meters ago. They're ascending up in on to the heritage climb here in Alula, here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. Category 2, 2 leaders, Krasnich and Ice being chased behind, but look at who is behind and mixed in. It is going to be Mr. X100 and it is going to be Phil Graves. They still got their lead. They're 44 seconds down and they're in with this group. This is going to assist them as well, because the more bodies you've got giving you some assistance on the climb, just taking even a little bit of draft is going to be key. But we are starting to see this blow apart here, and Spratt now is on the chase. He knows this is a time to try and break clear solo, trying to go join his teammate Henry Uys in front. He's got to push. He won't want to take anybody with him, so he wants to keep that gap. He's going to have to keep on kicking in very, very strongly. He's got a big-time gap to make up.
No, he has got a big-time gap to make up, but Spratt has gone early on this time, a bit like we saw Dadson go to chase Allport. Dadson now on Allport's wheel. Can Spratt make it up the road to Krasnich and Oich? Only time will tell. Behind, we've got X100 and Graves in that pack we can see.
And that means they're getting assistance. They're going to be saving some energy in the draft on here. It's not massive because the speed is 22 kilometers an hour, but every little bit helps. You can just see riders being distanced. Bogren off the back of the group. Caligula being distanced off the back, just trying to fight back onto the wheels here. He's going to get up and bust Mr. X100. Orlando's behind as well. So he's all here. This is all about keeping with this group. Now, different styles. This course suits very different riders and different styles. Mr. X100 is a steady state rider. A very fast, very strong, steady state rider. He doesn't like those changes in pace and in gradient. Phil Graves has gone on the attack so many times, I'm surprised he's got anything left in the legs at all. But the big group behind contains a lot of riders who have been very, very quiet indeed. They've not wasted energy in chasing. They've waited for the climb for them to show their colours. With 59 minutes gone by onto the clock, we'll shortly be into 1 hour of racing. We are on to the final climb, the Category 3 Heritage Climb. Total elevation of this climb 297 meters at the 506 across the race route. Category 1, right-hand side of your screen. Now your Category 1 chasers, your Category 1 leaders, left-hand side of your screen in that group.
Yeah, so X100 in the lead at the moment. It's got around 200 meters on the chasing group behind, but that's 200 meters of hill, or should I say mountain. 200 meters of mountain separating X100 from the leaders and the chasing group in that Category 1 race. That's the Category 2 race going off in the distance. Now that is because the attack keeps coming from that Category 2 race. Attack, chase, attack, chase. X100, well, he is time trialing his way to the top of this mountain.
So out of the saddle, Mr. X100, 79.80 revs per minute. He's still keeping it well and truly smooth. Meanwhile, in Category 4, right-hand side of your screen, we have 3 leaders all together, and they are pushing on here. Veles, Dadson, and Allport have got a gap. It's not massive. It is not the end of the race necessarily, but that is going to be very telling. Now, Mr. X100 here is leading the Category 1 race up the slope. I don't think I can see, I can just see Phil Graves at the back of the group, or is he? No, here we go. Next rider's coming through. This is the back, so Mr. X100 has been caught back on this climb. Knudsen now pushes on. So Knudsen, they're using this big group of riders. They came together. It was just like dropping a bowling ball into a big bag of flour. It's blown it all over the course, and now we're starting to see a kick. Vujasin here up on the front with the white helmet. He has got company with Knudsen, the rider who has got no hair at all. There, he's gone the full aero option. It looks like these 2 riders, Knudsen and Vujasin, they've got Safrazad going over the top in the white aero helmet. So Safrazad clearly on form.
Well, we said Lionel Vujasin was on form. He finished 3rd in the July final, 4th in qualifier race number 1 this month. He's up here with the top riders in Category 1 today as they come across this boardwalk bridge and take the right-hand bend further up the mountain. So Popovic is there, Knudsen is there, Safrazad, Zanaska, Nair is there, as well as the rest of the group, all concertina back together.
3.9k to go for these riders as they come up here, and you can see Mr. X100 after pushing on into the climb, just being distanced now. He's got to sit at a pace that is not going to blow him apart. He's a rider who knows exactly how to pace himself up the climb. He's got to use those skills now because he's chasing these riders. Said Safrazad on the front, white aero helmet, yellow shoes and socks. Over the top though, It looks to me like we've just seen a big kick. I think that was Hoyos who went over the top there with the blue hat going over the top of them. Vujasing very quickly responding, but it's Hoyos and Knudsen right up in the mix on the front. So Hoyos with the blue cap on. Then it's Knudsen now takes the race lead. They are at 41 of K of 41.5 K of 45K, but we have 600 meters, soon to be 500 meters to go for our category 4 leaders. Now, this has changed.
Wow,
we had 3 leaders. We now have 4 leaders effectively in this group, with 1 rider closing in behind. So that is going to be Velas up on the front. He's going to be the first rider underneath the banner to signify the end of the climb. 500 meters to go to the finish. Fellas in 1, leading this out. Can he make this count?
Well, that is going to be a question. Can he stay clear? Because the chase is on behind. The chase coming thick and fast. So Acevedo here, Velez here, Allport, Dadson. Well, can you even count Carvajal out as well? But definitely a 4 up for this finish in category 4. So down they drop into the corner. Valles is here. They are pushing on. Allport moving through. Dadson coming up. They're going to drop. They're going to kick. You can see the banner. Allport is going to push. Allport has got it. Allport takes the win today. Allport takes the win from Valles, from Dadson. That was a phenomenal category 4 race today.
What a ride there by Allport. He came over the top. He pushed to the line. Meanwhile, further down the hill, the race is blown apart in all of our race categories. This is category 3. We've seen 4 leaders coming through. This is category 3 on the climb. You can see at the moment Quintero is up here. It looks like he's got Gates for company. Just keeping a check on the riders as they come up alongside. But this is going to be a very tricky finish. You've seen just how hard this is to get right because of the dip. You go through the banner here, 500 meters to go. You still got a set for at least another 100 meters. You can see they're pushing. Then it goes into that steep dive down, and that is going to be key. Meanwhile, Michael Knudsen behind, he's chasing, but might be the leader in category 1. He's not going to be the first rider home as Quintero leads them over the top here. He's got a 3-second gap. Can he hold this? He's got to push all the way through here. Use the momentum or he could get overtaken. It's going to be John Freddy Quintero in category 3. He comes through to take the win in category 3. And they are going to be chasing to the line. Yeah,
they are indeed chasing to the line. Agudalo, Gakes, all coming thick and fast through the line as we drop back into category 1. Safrasad, Vujassin, Hoyos, Popovic, all here, all chasing hard. They are pushing up this mountain. They've got 2 kilometers to go.
And on that top right-hand graphic, you can see they've got to go to the top of the mountain and then drop down the dip and the little kicker on the other side. That is why it is so key to be in position at the top, because that downhill descent is absolutely critical. Now, the rider that we said had been quiet, Pablo Popovic, right up in the mix here with Knudsen, with Safrazad, with Hoyos, with Zanaska, with Vujassin. This could be anybody's race. It's Knudsen who's leading this out at the moment, but he has still got 1.6k to go.
He does indeed, but the faces of those riders, the speed that Knudsen comes past them on this climb, absolutely demoralizing for category 4 and category 3. But this is category 1. Knudsen, Safrazad, Popovic, Hoyos, Vujassin, 4 seconds currently separating the top 5, and Lucas Zanaska, well, he's on a charge behind.
So here is Knudsen trying to pick off every single rider on the way through. This is about pushing. This is about making sure you have this kick right. This is about making sure that you don't leave anything to chance. Who's going to get this Knudsen going? He's continuing to open the gap. Popovic, his teammate, is at 1 second. Hoyos wants to spoil the party. So does Safrazad. Can they get up there with the 2 riders from the UAE clan team? We still have 1,200 meters to go. Knudsen is going to think this is like a marathon to the finish line because he's gone early. He's got to get the timing right. He has a habit of making sure he gets it dialed, but it's a long, long way, and you can never discount Pablo Popovic in those last 500 meters or so. Hoyos, we know Hoyos can climb. We know Hoyos has got the kick. Has he got the timing right here? This is going to be key. Popovic is coming. He's going to be on Knudsen's wheel. Look at this. He's bringing, unfortunately for them, Hoyos
He's bringing
with them.
them back.
Oh, this is going to come down to that last thing. I think Vujasic now out of the running for the race win. He looks like he's sitting securely in 5th place, but it's not all over. Now on to this climb. We have 800 meters to go. They've got to go over the top and into the dip. This is the bush. 3 riders here together. Knudsen leading this out. Hoyos in 2, Popovic in 3. Into this little rolling section. More climbing to come. This is the next big kick. Here we go. It's going to go steep. Who's got the legs?
Well, it kicks to 12, 13, 14% as Knudsen digs in. Hoyos in 2, Popovic in 3. There is 1 second between these 3 riders. The gradient now starting to respite down to 7% as they see the polka dot jersey. That is the end of the climb segment. 500 meters to go.
So the last 500 meters critical. You've seen our previous categories. Taking the win by getting the timing right. Hoyos has got the march. He's gone over the top. Hoyos has gone for this. Can he make it?
Well, Knudsen is going now. Knudsen is kicking. Hoyos is at 9.5. Knudsen has missed the boat here as Juan Hoyos goes over the top of this descent. 9.2 watts per kilo as Hoyos drops down. He hits the climb. Knudsen's behind. Hoyos is going to take this. Juan Hoyos takes the win today from Michael Knudsen, from Pablo Popovic. Wow, what a move from Juan Hoyos. Said Safrazad coming through for 4th place, and I think that's going to be Lionel Vujasic who is going to take 5th.
I think our rider's very pleased to be up at the top 6. Hoyos, Knudsen, Popovic, Safrazad, the top 4 provisionally on our screens as they come in underneath the gantry. Justin's going to take 5th place. Zanaska, Kaminsky, Mr. X100, Bart Van and Eke out all on good rides here up in the top 10. Lucas Zanaska's coming into form at just the right time, as is Kaminsky. We've got our finals coming up next week. Mr. X100 comes in and through, followed by Bart Van den Eek out here. Zach Nair is not that far behind. This is the run for the line. Here are your top 8 riders. Hoyos in 1, Knudsen in 2, Popovic in 3, Safrazad in 4, Vujasic in 5, Zanaska in 6, Kaminsky in 7, and Mr. X100 in 8th place in category 1. And those riders separated by 49 seconds.
Yeah, Quintero taking the win in category 3, Allport taking the win in category 4. But what a race!
What a race! What excitement. Make sure you join us for our finals. We've had 3 blisteringly fast and aggressive and entertaining qualifiers to date. We've got the finals coming up where you have the team dynamics coming into play as well. Please do get in touch. You can get hold of me, Matt Payne. It's really easy. It's at Matt Fix the Pain. One day we will explain that on air. And we also have Emma. Emma, where can we find you?
You can find me at Biking Emma. And what a race. What a Sunday. I can't wait for next week, Matt.
So join us next week. Make sure you subscribe to MyWhoosh live on Twitch TV, to the YouTube channel. Jump on board, download the app, and come and join us, whether that's the Tune Up Tuesday, one of our group rides, or, of course, on the Sunday Race Club. But for this week, until our finals, from the amazing team behind the scenes at MyWhoosh, from Emma and myself in commentary, stay safe, enjoy your bike riding. We'll see you again soon.
Goodbye.